Hello everyone, how you doing? In today's video, I'm going to show you how to convert your data into visual stories using Power BI. So I'm going to show you how you can start from data to creating a report and of course sharing and collaborating with other people. So let's start by exploring our data. So when you want to create a data analysis project, your data source, simply put, is where your data is stored. So our data source is Excel spreadsheet. So I'm going to open up the Excel spreadsheet. So the data we're working with, they're just basically sales data from across different countries, and of course we have manufacturers data as well. So this particular data is for Canada. So we see that we have the product ID, of course we have the date, we have the zip code, unit, revenue, and country, and of course we have also for another country like Germany, and we also have for US. So you can basically see that looking at the structure of this data, they are basically the same except with some little or slight changes. So exploring this data already gives you an idea of how you will maybe combine this data just to help you prepare it for analysis. Then we also have the manufacturer's data in a different spreadsheet. So if I come over here, you see the product details. So for this one, we have it in a single workbook, but three different sheets. So we have the product data here, we have the manufacturer data here, and of course we have the geography over there. So this is the data that we're going to work with, and these are the different Excel sheets. All of them are being saved and stored into one particular folder. So we're going to bring in this folder into Power BI. When you launch Power BI to create a blank report, and it opens up on this canvas. So this is your report view. Over here you have the ribbon, which shows you the command and features you can use to create reports and dashboard. If you use other Microsoft tools, you know that the ribbon is a common feature among them. And of course we have different views here, like table view, we have model view, and the rest of them. So by the time we bring in data, I'm going to open up those views so you can see how the data looks like in those particular views. One of the most important features you will get to use, apart from where you have this visualization, one of the most important features you will get to use right in this report view is get data, because this get data helps you get access to the different data sources. Remember, our Excel spreadsheet and workbook are inside a particular folder. So I'm going to select folder. So I'm going to select this folder and click to connect. So on this folder, I'll quickly just go ahead to browse the folder path. So always make sure that you check where your folder path is. So my folder is right in my document. So I'm just going to select it, which is project one. I'll click to open it, then click OK. So right now, this is the folder, and of course, these are the data that we have inside this folder. So what I'll do is to just click transform data. Transform data will automatically open up the Power Query editor for us. Remember, I said that with Power BI, you can actually clean your data, and we're going to use Power Query editor right in Power BI to clean this data. So right now, this is the folder that we have. So all of this comes in like this. Because it's a folder, it's showing the content as binary. So we have to now extract the data that we want from this particular folder so we can use it for our analysis. So first off, what we want is we need, so if you look at the second column here, we have the names. So we need the cells of Canada, Germany, Mexico, and of course US cells. And then we'll also bring in this other workbook by dimensions where we have the products and of course the manufacturer's information. So what I will do is, let me just start from the sales data themselves. So I'm going to right click on the second binary. As I'm right clicking, I'll select to add as a new query. So right now this is for Canada. I'll double click to open this. Immediately I double click to open that, it's going to open it like this. Then I'm going to also double click to open this table. So we've been able to open that table. Then I'll quickly rename it as Canada sales, so we don't mix up when we bring in other sales data. So I'm quickly going to rename it as Canada sales. So I'll quickly just extract the other ones before we start cleaning. So I'll go back to the first table, the table that we brought in. I'm going to bring in Germany sales, which is the third one. I'll click to add as new query, open it up here, and then double click here to open it. So I'll quickly rename this as Germany, then I'll press enter. I'll go to my project one folder. We are going to bring in cells for Mexico. I'm going to click to add as new, and of course I'll do the same thing. Then I'm going to quickly rename it as Mexico. So let's just rename it as Mexico cells. Then for the last one, which is the US cells, so I'll come, which is number 7. So you can see the name of the folder on the second column. So I'm going to right click number 7 and then add as new query. So I'm going to do this and open up the US cells. So I'll quickly rename this as US cells. So I'll go back to the project one, and the last query we need to bring in is this by dimensions query. So I'm going to right click and then add as new query. So once I open up this, remember this is a workbook. It has 3 different sheets. So we need 2 sheets from this. So what we will do is I'm going to extract the first 2 sheets from this. So to do that, I'll right click on the table. I'm not going to double click to open it. I'm just going to right click on that table, and by the time I open that table, I'll click to add as new query, and it has opened the product sheet. So I'll go back to that same query, and of course I'm going to do the same thing, add as new query to open up the manufacturer sheet. So notice that all of these are open now. I'm going to disable 2 queries from loading into Power BI. So we're going to disable them. So the first one we're going to disable is the project one folder. Remember, this folder is just for us to extract our data. We don't need it for our analysis. So I'm going to just disable load by checking this. To know that you've disabled a particular table or a folder, you will notice that the name will be italicized. So I'll do the same thing for this other one, and we're going to just disable them. So for now, we'll just go ahead to start cleaning this data. So data cleaning is very important because real life data can be very dirty and of course very messy. For you to carry out a proper analysis or data analysis and projects, you have to know how to clean your data, and of course constant practice will help you get to know that better. So this is Canada cells that we have here. So looking at this data, we have the column names here. So we need to bring the column names to its exact column name. We don't want to have column 1, column 2 and the rest of it. So right on the home tab, we have where we call use first rows as header. So we want to use the first row, your number 1, as our headers. So I'm going to just select that, use first rows as headers, and you can see that the transformation has taken place. If you look at the applied steps, all the transformation will be listed out on these applied steps. So we're done with that particular one. So the way you clean a table, you go through each of the columns. As you're going through each of the columns, you look at the data type, you check the values to be sure that everything is correct. You see where we have valid, error and empty. If you want to toggle it on, come to the view tab and then toggle on column quality and of course column distribution. So this already shows you an overview of how the data in your column is, if it's valid, if you have errors, or if you have empty cells. And if you have large data sets, always come down to where you have this column profiling based on top 1000 rows. Just click on it and change it to column profiling based on entire data set, because if you see the column quality here will show you based on first 1000 rows of your data. It will not cover your entire data set. So you always have to toggle that to the entire data set so that you'll be able to have an overview of course your entire data set. So basically the product ID column here is correct. The date column here is equally okay. Of course, the zip code and the unit, including the revenue. So for the revenue here, we may decide to just change it to fixed decimal. We want it to have 2 decimal places, so I can change it to fixed decimal, and I want to add a new step here, so I just change it to that. And of course the country, everything is correct for this table. So we're just going to replicate this simple process for the other tables as well. So I'll come to Germany and see that we basically need to do the same thing. So I'm going to just change the first rows to others, and looking at the different data types, all of them are correct. So we can also just change this data type to fixed decimal places, and basically this table is correct. So note that as you're cleaning data, each table requires a different type of cleaning, might require a different type of cleaning technique. So you always have to look at each of the columns one after the other. So I'm going to click on Mexico sales. So for Mexico sales, we're basically going to do the same thing, and we'll just go through it. Like I said, it's basically the same process, so it's quite easy and quite simple to do. So we will do that. Then for the US sales, so for the US sales, we'll also change the first rows to others. Then we'll get to look at the different data types. So I'll change this to fixed decimal number. So I noticed that for the US sales now, we do not have the country column. So we are going to combine these different countries, that's Canada, Germany, Mexico, and US, into one single table because they have the same structure. So we are going to combine it and use it for our analysis. So we have to create a country column for the US sales data as well. So we'll come to add column, and under this add column I'll click on custom column. So for this custom column, we want the custom column to be called country column. So we're going to, because it's a text data, I'm going to type a double quotation sign and then just type USA. So that is what we have for the country, and then I'll click OK. So once I click OK, you can see that this we've added a new column called country, and of course it's being populated by the country USA. So I'm quickly going to just change this to text data type. So that is what we have for these four data. So we're going to quickly combine these four tables together. So we want to combine them as another new table. What we will do is I'll come to the home tab, and right on the home tab we have the combine group. So the way we are going to combine this is we're going to append query. So this is going to append one query to the other. So I'm going to select this drop down. We want to append queries as new. It's going to combine it into another new table for us. So we have more than 3 tables, and the table we need to add, so the first one has been added already, which is Canada sales. So I'm going to select Germany, press my control key, select Mexico sales, of course select USA, and then click to add this. Then I'll select OK. Once I select OK, you can see that a new table has been created. So this new table is called append one. So I can just rename the table here. Let's just call them country sales. So we'll call that country sales, and we have to look at the data types. Remember, we just combined tables, so we have to look at the data types. So the data type is correct, and for the zip, we have to change it to text data type. And of course, we also have to, so basically everything here is correct, and always remember and make sure you change the column profiling to the entire data set, so you'll be able to have an overview of all the column quality for your entire data set. So we're basically done with this particular table. So now that we're done with combining these tables, we're going to disable this table from loading, because we all have the information from this other country sales table in this country sales. So what we have to do is to disable this one. So I'm going to right click and then uncheck this enable load. I'll do the same thing for Germany. Equally do the same thing, right click and uncheck enable load. Right click and also uncheck enable load for US sales. So we have 3 major tables that we're working with. We're done with country sales, so we're going to clean up the product sheet cell. So I'm going to select the product sheet cell, and right on this product sheet cell we have to first clean it. So what we need to do, the first row here, we do not have need for this first row, so we're going to remove the top row. So right under where we have reduce rows group, on the home tab, I'm going to select remove top rows and I'll type 1 because we want to remove only one. So we now have the column names here on the first row. So we'll now check use first rows as headers. So I'm going to select use first rows as headers, and there we have our first row as headers. Then right on the column profiling based on, of course, top 1000 rows, I'm going to profile based on the entire data set. So we're going to clean these columns one after the other. So the first column here is correct product ID and the data type is whole number. Then for the second one here, we can see that the product is being combined with the segment, and it's divided by is separated by delimiter, which is a stroke. So we have to split this column. So what we'll do is I'm going to select the product column and come over to the transform group, select the split column. So we want to select by delimiter. And what is the delimiter? The delimiter is basically a stroke. So I'm going to just type a stroke here. So I'm going to just type a stroke here, and we want to remove it. We only have one stroke in all of these values, so I want to select the leftmost delimiter, and then I'm going to click OK. So by the time I click OK, you see that particular column has been separated. So I'm going to rename this column to product column. Then I'm going to rename the second one here to segment. Then I'll press enter. Then I'll scroll to where I have the category. So I can see that we have some null value. So the way this data was imputed, it's imputed in such a way that the first category, then the other ones are supposed to follow suit with the first category. And of course, we now go over to where we have the second one and the rest of it. So what we're going to do is we're going to fill these values down. So I'm going to select the category column and come over to the transform tab. So on the transform tab, we come to where we have fill under the any column group. So I'm going to select this drop down. Once I select this drop down, we want to fill these values down. So I'm going to select fill down. So you notice that it's going to fill down like the first one here, the category mix is going to fill it down to where it has urban. It will just start filling up and down. So basically that's what fill down does. Then for the manufacturer ID, everything is correct, and of course for the price, for us to calculate anything that has to do with price, we have to split the price column from the, of course, the USD text. So you can actually split this using a delimiter as well. So I'm going to select the price, and of course we'll come to split column. There are so many ways you can do this, and one of the ways is with this delimiter. So I'm going to select delimiter, and the delimiter is space. We want to remove it from the leftmost delimiter. So I'm going to select OK, and you see that we've been able to split our price. So we can actually just rename this price here. I can just rename the price of this product. Let's say we change it to a fixed decimal number. And since we know that the currency, so you can check here to be sure of the currency. The currency is only in dollars, so we can remove that particular column. So I'm going to select, right click on it and click to remove that column. So we've removed that column, and this table is practically clean for our analysis. So you can see all the transformation steps are being listed here. So the next table we're going to work on is the manufacturer sheet. So for the manufacturer sheet, this is how this spreadsheet was imputed. So we have to clean it. So the first thing we need to do is we have to remove the first row because we do not have need for the first row. So I'll come to the home tab, then we're going to remove top rows. So I'll type 1 because we need to remove only one top row. And looking at it also, we have 3 bottom rows that we do not need. All these 3 bottom rows, if I scroll to the end, you see that they all have no value. So we do not need the empty rows in our data. So I'm going to click to remove rows. But this time around, I'll select remove bottom rows. Once I select remove bottom rows, I'm going to type 3, and then click OK. So once I click OK, we basically have our data in this white format. So we have to transpose this data. So transpose is going to change the columns to rows, and of course rows to columns. So I'm going to select transform, then I'll click and transpose. So once I click on transpose, you notice that it has automatically changed the data to the way it should be. And of course, right on this transform tab, you can also change the first rows to headers. So I'm going to select to change these first rows to headers, and we have our table looking all cleaned up. So based on the kind of transformation that you need to do on a particular table, just go through each of the column one after the other and make sure that you try to clean it up. But if you do not finish up everything in the point where you're trying to create your report, you can always come back and try and clean up your data to help you create the kind of report or visuals that answers the business question you're trying to answer. So basically, well, as we're done with this, um, we have three tables we are going to bring into Power BI. Remember, we've disabled the this other one. So these other tables that the name is being italicized will not be loading into Power BI desktop. We're only loading these three tables. So what I will do is to click on home and then come to where we have close and apply. I'll select this drop down. So if I click apply, it's going to apply the changes to Power BI desktop, but the Power Query editor will still be open. So I'm going to click close and apply so that it will close the Power Query editor and apply the changes in Power BI desktop. So I'm going to just do this. So over here, we just wait for a few minutes for it to bring this data right here. So right now the data has been loaded into Power BI desktop, and if you look at the data pane, this is where we have the data pane. We have the three tables that we've loaded into it. So right here, remember I mentioned that we have different views in Power BI. This is the report view where you get to create your report. We have another view which is called the table view. So if I click on this table view, you can see all of this data in, of course, a tabular format. I can click on manufacturer sheet, I can click on product sheet, and with this table view, you can actually do some formatting and changes that you need to do. So for instance, I can see that the revenue here for this particular country is showing in Naira, so I can select it and change the currency to dollars. Remember when we splitted it, it was actually in dollars, so I can just change that for country sales. And of course, I can also click on manufacturer sheets, click on product sheet. So for the price also was equal in dollars, so I can right click and select the price column and then change the currency to this dollar sign. So by the time we're done with that, you can always cross check that your data type is correct over here. So what we need to do is to create relationships between this table. So creating relationship actually allows you to creating relationship allows you to get information from both tables. So when you're bringing in data for the first time in Power BI will automatically create relationships for you. But as you go on practicing or using Power BI to analyze data, you would maybe at some point want to just turn it off so that you have more flexibility on how you create relationships between your table. But since we have very simple and easy tables here, these relationships are practically correct. So looking at the model view, this is what we call a one-to-many relationship. That means on the manufacturer sheets, we have one manufacturer ID, but on the product sheet, we can have a lot of manufacturers because we now have lots of product. And of course, that's the same thing here with the product sheet. So the product sheet is being linked to the country sales by the column product ID. By the column product ID. So with this product sheet here, the product sheet table is the one side of the relationship, while the country sales is the many side of the relationship. To make it quite easy, if I open this up and select, of course, select the product, you can see the product ID. We have the product ID. So these product IDs are unique for each of these products. Then if you come to the country sales here, we have the product ID. You can already see that there are some duplicates of different products that were sold in different countries daily. So basically that's what it means. So on the country sales here, you can have the same product ID number as many times as possible. So that is why in the model view we have the product sheet, and of course the country sales sheet table have the one to many relationship. So with this one to many relationship, we can come back to report view to create a simple report. Remember, I said we're using Power BI to convert our data into visual stories. And basically, when you're doing an analysis, you always have an objective of why you're doing the analysis. You've seen that we have sales data. So let's see how we can use this sales data and actually maybe create stories that can help us drive sales across different countries. So we're going to create something very simple and very easy. So when you come over here, the first thing you want to look at, okay, you're trying to look at sales, maybe you're trying to look at the market share of the different countries. So you first of all want to know the total revenue or the total sales for all of this data. So we have the visualization pane here where we now have build. So with this, you have different visualization that you can use to visualize your data. So if you want to visualize things like total sales, total revenues, those are what we call KPIs, the key performance index. Every industry has its own has its own every industry has its own metrics, its own key performance index. So we're going to use the card visual. So I'm going to use this simple card visual, and with this simple card visual, we're going to bring in the total revenue. So I'm going to select this total revenue. So selecting this total revenue, there's what we call measures in Power BI. Measures are just summarizations or aggregations of data. But you also notice that we have what we call implicit and explicit measure. So for implicit measure, if you bring in a data like this, if you bring in a data that has this summarization symbol, something like a revenue here, you notice that once it gets to these field wells, this is what we call field wells. Once it gets to these field wells, it will automatically sum that data. If you select this drop down, you'll see different data options like average, minimum. So this is implicit measure. It just automatically sums it for you. But if you want to create an explicit measure, you want to have more control over the calculations in your report, you can now use DAX functions to create those calculations. So you can actually use like a DAX sum function to create the same thing that we've created here for this sum of revenue. So for this one, we're just going to allow it. And the second measure we may like to create, the second measure we may like to create is going to be, so we'll quickly bring in another card visual. So this second measure here, we're going to create the total unit sales, and this time around we're going to use the explicit measure. We're going to use the simple DAX function to create this measure. So to quickly create this, I'll quickly just create it in the country sales table. So I'll select this country sales table and then select new measure. So for this new measure, we want to create total unit. So for the total unit here, we're going to use the simple sum function to create total unit. So I'm going to select unit. Of course, I'm going to select the unit column. So it's going to bring in both the table name and of course the column name in square brackets. Then I'll close this with a parenthesis and then press enter. Once I press enter, any name that you see with this calculator icon, know that that is a measure. So I'm going to just select this total unit, and we've selected the total unit. So this is basically what we have as our total units. This is basically what we have as our total unit. So I'm just going to just place that there. So let's say we want to create the total revenue over time. Remember that we have a date column here in this particular table. So because we have a date column, you may actually want to create date tables in your data set. So date tables will enable you use time intelligence calculations. But for the sake of this video, we're going to just quickly use the date column the way it is to create the revenue over time. So I'm going to bring in a line chart. So with this line chart, I'm going to just place this line chart over here. So with this line chart here, I'll just resize this chart. So for the line chart, we're going to bring in the date into the x-axis. So I'm going to bring in the date into the x-axis field well. And of course, if you look at the field well, you have a place where you can just click add data and the data is going to show up. Or you just click on the data over here and it's going to enter into the field well. So we're looking at the revenue over time. So I'm just going to impute that revenue. So imputing that revenue, you see that this is what we have because we have a lot of data sets here. So basically, this is going to show us the revenue over time. So if we also want to look at the revenue across the different countries, we can use different visuals. You can use a map visual. You can equally use a bar chart to show because you're trying to compare the revenue between these countries. So I'm quickly going to bring a clustered bar chart over here, and with this clustered bar chart, I'm going to bring in the country, and of course I'm going to bring in the revenue. So this is what we have for our clustered bar chart. And also, based on the analysis you're basically trying to create, you may also want to see the market share for these different countries. That's the percentage contribution. So just looking at this, you may know that okay, USA has the highest revenue across all these countries, but you may just decide to bring in another chart, or you may create a calculation. So to simply show the proportion very easily, you can use a pie chart or a donut chart. So I'm going to bring in a donut chart. So with this donut chart here, with this donut chart, I'm going to quickly just bring this in. So we're going to bring the country and of course the sales for this donut chart. So I'm going to select the country and then select the revenue. So when you see this, if you overrun it, you see that USA has the highest market share, which is like 54.86 percent of the total countries over here. And of course, you may also just want to look at the product a little. So we can bring in a clustered bar chart to see the revenue for each of these products. So let's bring this here. Let's just bring this here. Remember, I said this is just very simple and easy. So when it comes to creating reports, you can there are a whole lot of possibilities. You can tweak these visuals the way you want it to look aesthetically appealing to your stakeholders. So for this particular bar chart, we want to look at the product themselves. So I can just click on this product here and we want to bring in the product, and of course, so the product is going to be from the product sheet table and the revenue is going to be from the country sales table. So this is made possible because we've created relationship between these two tables. So we are able to visualize data from these two tables. So this is just showing us the revenue by the product. So if you want to maybe go ahead to just beautify your reports, you can actually do some maybe create some external image or just do some little designs and bring it into your report. So let's say I can just bring in something very simple like this background. So I'm going to select this background here and I'm going to bring this picture right here. So once I bring in the picture, because the transparency is still 100, so it's going to show plain white. So I'm going to just turn off this transparency for me to see the image, and of course I'm going to change the image fit from fit to stretch, and by the time I change it from fit to stretch, you can see the image. So you can always bring in any design that you want to, and then when you come here you try to resize your visuals to fit in to the image that you've brought right here. So basically with this, you've created a very simple analysis that can actually help you to analyze sales across different countries. So you can basically just use this, analyze your do your market analysis and the rest of it. So I'm just trying to resize this visual right here. So I'll just bring this in and of course just stretch this out. So right on this other pane, we may decide to just bring in some filter to help us filter this report. But before there, we can actually just include or insert a text box. So this text box here, I'm going to just change the font size, and we will call this market analysis. So let's call this market analysis. And so with this, I can just select it because this is a text, this is just a normal text. I can just select that and make it bold and maybe just add a color to it. So let me bring it in and maybe just increase the font size a little to 24. So we have our market analysis here, and I can just bring this right here. So over here, we will decide to just add some little filters to this report. So let's say we want to add a country filter. We can actually use one of these button slicers to add a country filter. So I can bring this down here, and then I'll select the country to add this filter. So if I come over here, I'll select the country, and for this particular filter, you can remember all of these visuals can be formatted. All of these visuals can be formatted. So if I select that, I'll come to the slicer, not the slicer settings, I'll come to the layout rather, and on the layout, we want it to show only one column with three rows. So this is what we have. Then we can just okay, so because we have 4 countries, let's just allow the 4 countries to show. So let's just allow the 4 countries to show. Then I can just resize this here, and of course we can toggle off the background. So for the background, you can go to size and style, scroll it, and then toggle off the background that you have there. So remember, like I said, this all of these things are optional. You can always tweak it just the way you want it to be. Like, you can always tweak it and make it look finer and of course more visually appealing. So by the time you create a report like this, another thing that you may want to also know is that if you want to change the colors of this, the best way to change the colors is to just change the entire theme. So you can come to where we have the view tab, and on the view tab over here, you see that Power BI has different themes. So this report, this is the default theme for Power BI. That's why you're seeing these other colors. So you can always choose any other theme that you want, or better still, you can bring in your custom theme, like your custom JSON theme. So you bring in that custom theme will come in with those custom colors that you need to create your report. So now let's say I want to change one of the colors here, the major color here, which is this blue color. We want to change it to have something like this. So I'll basically just come to the view tab, and so right now I'm not going to change the entire theme. I just want to change only the color. So I can come to where I need to customize the current theme, and then select this blue color, and right here I'm going to use the X code. So anytime you want to change colors, instead of just scrolling all through the this color palette, just make sure you have the color code. That is going to help you build themes and of course create your reports faster. So by the time I click on that, I'm going to just apply this, and of course by the time I apply this, you notice that that major color has changed in my report. So you can actually make your own look a bit brighter. So basically, if you have something simple like this, remember this is not a full and complete report, but I'm showing you the different things, the different possible things that you can do when you're starting out to turning your data into visual stories using Power BI. So by the time you create something like this, you want to share and collaborate with other people. How do you share and collaborate? To share and collaborate, you have to come to the home tab, and right on the home tab you click on publish. So if you click to publish this, remember you have to save this report first before you'll be able to publish it. So I'm going to click save. So to save these, I'll just click on more options. So what I will do is I'm going to select this project one folder and I'm going to save this. So let's call it market analysis report. So I'm going to call it market analysis report, and then I'm going to click save to save this report. So immediately I save this report, so I'll come back and click on publish, and publish is going to show me the different workspaces I have. So I can just put it in this default workspace, which is my workspace, and I'm going to just publish it. So after publishing this report to Power BI service, I'm going to open it up in Power BI service so you see how you can share and collaborate with other people. So I'll come over to my Chrome and I've logged into my Power BI service. So remember, I published to my workspace. My workspace is like the default workspace in Power BI service when you create one. So remember, and Power BI service is now incorporated into Microsoft Fabric. So this is the market analysis report. So anytime you publish a report, it comes in with the semantic model, that is the data sets, calculations, transformations, and every other thing that you've done within that semantic model. So I'm going to open up this report over here. So this is the sample reports that we created. Remember, this is our slicer. If I click to filter, it's going to filter based on the country that I've selected. So if I select USA, it's going to show me information for USA. Then I can always toggle it off. Remember, I said this is a very simple report. So with this, you can actually get to share this report with other people. You can click on file and click to embed report. So let's say you want to include it in your website or your portal, or maybe you're creating it as a portfolio project. You can always click it, or you click publish to web. Once you click this publish to web, you'll be able to generate a link that you can share the link with other people to create this report. And there are other ways as well that you can create share this report with other people. You can create apps and of course share the report with every other person. So with Power BI, there's a whole lot of possibilities. There's really no limit to the type of data that you can work with in Power BI. So with this, you can just change your data into visual stories and help your stakeholders or help people to make data driven decision. If you have any question, please drop it in the comment section, and if you have any concern, all of these resources will be in a link where you can actually have access to the data sets and also explore and create amazing reports and dashboards for your portfolio. Thank you so much for watching this video.